Big 12.
Yeah, so.
Let's get into some stats. Greg McElroy on the day, 18 for 29, 120 yards, less than stellar performance. Mark Ingram, 18 carries, 99 yards. He didn't have as big a role.
But still, I mean, it was only 1 yard away for having another 100-yard game.
Right.
He did a lot. I thought the offensive line played well. They played decent. Sometimes they looked really good. Sometimes they looked really bad. So.
Had Julio Jones, 7 receptions, 54 yards. You like going back to him, I mean.
I like seeing it, but, you know.
You got to produce.
But if that's not where we need to go, and that's not where the ball needs to be.
I liked earlier in the season when McElroy went through his reads, and he did it, you know, on time. He wasn't being too quick. He wasn't going through it too slow. He was on time. He was checking off, and he was finding the open guy. Now it seems like he's throwing the ball scared almost, and when he's not scared, he's looking at Julio the whole time.
Yeah, I really, if any of you guys have opinions on this, please just feel free to write a comment. But I don't know what the problem is. And when you take a quarterback, and he's in such a funk right now, he's in a slump, and, you know, you can respond to bad games in two ways. You can either get better or get worse. Nobody stays the same in athletics. There's no standstill in progression. You can work to improve, or you can give up and fall off completely. But when you have a quarterback that the other team knows is inconsistent, they know will not go through the reads, they know is confused and lacks confidence, then it makes your offense one-dimensional. And that's what I saw Saturday, and it made me sick.
You're right. You hate for the offense to look like that, especially after they got off to such a great start this season. Getting into some stats for Tennessee. Hardesty, 18 carries, 48 yards. Bryce Brown, 11 carries, 35 yards. They moved the ball very well against Alabama, and they looked really good against that defense. Of course, the defense was put on spot at times because the offense couldn't stay on the field.
Yeah, they had a lot of passing yards through the air. Jonathan Crompton went 21 for 36, threw for 265 yards. Probably the most you'll see a quarterback throw against this Alabama defense.
Whole season.
Like I said earlier this year, the Achilles heel to this Alabama team is the underneath quick slant. It seemed like Alabama was playing the middle of the field well because they were in some kind of blitz package. This was actually new this week. They haven't ran this before. They weren't familiar with this, but it left the flats wide open for the running back. The running back out of the backfield in the flats with the flare pass was usually wide open for Hardesty and Brown. They had a lot of pickups with that. It wasn't big gains, but it was
moving the chain.
Consistent, 10 yards and out.
You're right. Alabama, of course, they're off this week.
Thank
Next
God.
week, yes, this is a much-needed bye week. Alabama's beat up, and I think they're just mentally tired. This break, gets them an extra week to prepare for LSU. I think it's well needed.
Oh, I think it's absolutely needed, and I think it's at a perfect time. And, everything's considered when you think about a national championship team. From, the big things of the team, offensively and defensively. But even now in schedule, I think it works out. I think we have a very, very good shot at this now because, like you said, I think nobody needs this week more than Alabama does as far as resting. Because even Coach Saban said throughout last week, he said the team's practices that they looked tired. They were, not mentally focused. They were having mental breakdowns. And as the game went on, I mean, you could see that, they had a breakdown in coverage where they threw the touchdown to Gerald Jones. But, I don't think you're going to see that next week. I think it's going to be focus.
You're right. I think they come out prepared. Of course, we'll get into that next week. We're not going to talk in depth about LSU. It's not that time yet, but I do think they'll be well rested, and I think they'll have a hard week of practice, and Coach Saban will have them ready.
No.
Anything else you want to hit on, Big D?
Really, I mean, I've talked about this already, but really, I can't display my concern for the offense. And, where will this take us? And, you guys can answer this question. I'm personally not going to answer it because I just don't feel the need to. Should there be another quarterback receiving some playing time? I'm not personally going to say anything. My opinion is my opinions. And, if you feel that Greg McElroy can't get the job done, should we try Star Jackson or Thomas Darrell?
Well, I think we've all heard the saying, if you're playing two quarterbacks, you don't have any. So I think that's Saban's philosophy. I think Saban is a winner, and whoever he thinks gives him the best chance to win, that's who he's going to play. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if he thinks Star Jackson can be effective, I think we'd be seeing Star.
But at what point does he draw the line and say, enough is enough? We cannot have a one-dimensional offense and win a national championship.
Yeah, you can't do it.
It's impossible. It will not happen, and against LSU it will show. That's a mean defense, LSU. They are mean. And, they're not going to give McElroy any remorse because he doesn't have experience. Neither does Star Jackson or Thomas Darrell. But you know what? If the way I look at it, the best players should be on the field. If you can't perform on Saturdays, you shouldn't be on the field.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm a little upset about it, but it's just how it is.
Look at it like this. Also, play calling's been spotty to say the least.
Very, very. And
you have to put your quarterback in positions where he can come through. I don't think Alabama's been doing that.
No, and you saw Urban Meyer after the Mississippi State game. They asked him about Tebow struggling in that game. And Urban Meyer actually said, well, that was my fault. I put Tebow in some situations that he couldn't really get himself out of. But I agree with you 100% there. Some of the play calls on third down, we went play action pass. We know heavy blitz was coming. But yeah, hopefully we can get all this worked out.
All right. Well, we're about out of time, but we thank you for joining us. We hope you tune in next week. We'll have our pregame for LSU. That's all for now. Signing out. EBNTC.